What's up, guys? Welcome to Touchdown Talk, where everything and anything football goes. I'm your host, Jason, and you can see behind me, we have the AFC and the NFC championships set. We have the Bengals taking on the Chiefs. We have the Niners taking on the Eagles. But before we get into that, let's talk about the games this past weekend, the divisional round. Let's start off with our first game between the Jaguars and the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs won this game, but it was close at the end. Now, Mahomes, the biggest thing out of this game is Mahomes' high ankle sprain. And that's what we're going to be talking about all week. Every network, every show, everyone, everywhere you hear about this game, they're going to bring up Patrick Mahomes' injury. Patrick Mahomes was out there wobbling on one leg. He was out there jumping, making these throws on one leg, hobbling on one leg. And you could see the pain, but it didn't affect Mahomes. Mahomes still got the job done. Now, the Jaguars made it close at the end, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Early in the game, you're tied with the Chiefs, and you throw this deep ball to Christian Kirk, and man, did Christian Kirk sell on the catch, dropping it, which could have put the Jaguars in a first and goal spot. They would have been poised to score again. And when you're against the Chiefs, you got to play a perfect game. You can't make mistakes, and Jacksonville did. Lawrence threw a pick later in the game, and at that point, it was all Kansas City. Now, Jacksonville tried to make it a game at the end, but couldn't get the onside kick. The game was over. Chiefs won. But the biggest take I got from this game is Patrick Mahomes and his injury and what he did on one leg. It didn't matter that he was injured. He still went out there and played. He will play this weekend. He won't be at 100%, but he will play against the Bengals. Now, our next game was the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, was this just a pure domination by the Philadelphia Eagles. Their offensive line and their defensive line completely and utterly dominated the New York Giants. The New York Giants came out flat. Couldn't do anything, went for it on fourth down early in the game. Eagles took a quick lead on their first drive, then came back and scored again. Back-to-back drives with a touchdown, going up 14-0. And they shut the Giants out through three quarters. And what more can you ask for from your defense? The Eagles' defense, 5 sacks. Their offensive line dominated the New York Giants' defensive line. And when your second-string running back, third-string running back, and Kenneth Gainwell is putting up 112 yards and a touchdown, you know it's going to be a good game. Miles Sanders putting up 90 yards. Boston Scott, the giant killer, as we call him, he scored. You knew that was going to happen. An excellent game from the Eagles. Almost perfect, flawless game from the Birds. 38-7. And if you're an Eagle fan, this score is familiar to you. Because what does it look like? The NFC Championship against the Minnesota Vikings. Back in 2018, on January 21st, the same exact date on the anniversary of the NFC Championship, the Eagles beat the Giants by the same score they beat the Vikings in that championship game. Now, not only did the offensive line dominate, but so did the defense. The defensive line got 5 sacks on Daniel Jones. They put the pressure on Daniel Jones, and that's going to be a big key this weekend. Now, talking about their line and their defense getting 5 sacks and their offensive dominating, my biggest takeaway in this game was Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts. Their injuries look to be fine. Now, Jalen's not 100% with his shoulder. Lane Johnson not 100% with his groin. But they both played well. Lane Johnson has not allowed a QB pressure since 2020. He is the best tackle in the NFL. And when he's not on the field, it hurts the team. But he is back, and he is going to play through this injury. He's not having surgery until after the season for this reason. Now, Daniel Jones and the Giants couldn't do what the Eagles did on offense. The Eagles' offense all around was dominant. Jalen Hurts was getting the ball out. Jalen Hurts was running the ball. And Jalen Hurts was lowering his shoulder. That was huge to see. I just talked about his injury and not being 100%, but he was lowering his shoulder. What more can you ask for if you're an Eagle fan? Seeing your quarterback put his body on the line every single week, even with an injury, going out there, putting his body on the line for your team. Lane Johnson not getting surgery to put his body on the line for your team. And they did what the Giants wanted to do, and that was run the ball. Miles Sanders ran the ball. Kenneth Gainwell ran the ball. Boston Scott ran the ball. And they also threw the ball. Now, the only flaw from the Eagles' offense was A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was missing from this team. Only 3 catches the entire game. He was frustrated on the sideline. He also twisted his hip, so that added to his frustration. Nick Sirianni talked about that. You saw Nick Sirianni go over to him on the sideline. And I expect A.J. Brown to bounce back in a huge way this weekend against the 49ers. I expect a big deep ball shot on the first drive for the Eagles offense. I just have a feeling. Let's get into what I wanted to talk about next, and that was Daniel Jones' run game. Just last week, he had over 70 yards rushing against the Vikings, and they ran the ball with Barkley, and they just couldn't get it done against the Eagles. As I said, complete domination. Daniel Jones and Barkley, what they needed to do was take over the time of possession and run the ball. They couldn't do it, and that's just another part of why the Giants lost. The offensive line couldn't protect Daniel Jones. He was getting pressure every single down. The Eagles set a franchise record with 5 sacks in a playoff game. Just a total domination. Congrats to the Eagles. They will be playing this Sunday at 3 p.m. against the 49ers. The Chiefs this Sunday at 6 p.m. against the Cincinnati Bengals. Speaking of the Bengals, let's get to their game against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I have been a huge Josh Allen apologist for years now. I've backed Josh Allen, but he can't get it done. He can't get the job done. I don't know if it's the Bengals. I don't know if it's Joe Burrow. I don't know if it's his team, but it's just something with this Bills team that can't get the job done. Now, I don't want to make excuses for this Bills team, but when you look at the offense of the Bills, aside from Diggs, it's very slim. Now, I'm not going to disrespect Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox. Don't get me wrong. Dawson Knox is a good tight end, but he's not a great tight end, but he's good. My problem with this Bills offense is the receivers aside from Diggs. I mean, Gabe Davis, he's not a true number 2 receiver. I don't think he could play the outside spot. You need a guy that can play that position. Now, when you look at the Bengals, they have 3 wide receivers. They have Chase, they have Higgins, and they have Boyd. You look at the Eagles, they have Smith, they have A.J. Brown, and they have Quez in the slot. And that's what the Bills need. They need that number 2 guy outside of Diggs. Because when you're double teaming Diggs the entire game, he's going to get frustrated. And that's what happened in this game. The emotion was not there for the Bills. Even though DeMar was at the game, they just came out flat. They came out flat. They made mistakes. The Bengals went up 14-0, and it started just like the Eagle game. 14-0. The Bengals, you just saw that they were on fire, going up and down the field on the Bills. And the Bills just couldn't do anything, really. Josh Allen couldn't get anything going. The Bills couldn't get anything going. And I think the Bills need to really look at their team this offseason. This is another disappointing year. Another year where you don't make it to where you want to be. Another year where your fans are disappointed. And this was the year where I thought the Bills were going to the Super Bowl. A disappointing year for the Bills. You got to look at your team at this point, especially with Diggs. I mean, this is not the first time, not the second time, not the third time where Diggs has been emotional on the sideline. Disappointed in his play, disappointed in the targets he's getting. And, you know, we talk about the connection between him and Allen, but is it really a great connection if he's not getting the ball? I get he's double teamed, but he's your best player on the field. You got to get him the ball regardless. We see the Bengals get chased the ball. You got to get the ball to Diggs. And the Bills just didn't do that. And it's disappointing for the Bills, especially when they're a good team. They should be there. But it was bad. And when you let the Bengals come out to an early lead, your defense doesn't stop them. Your offense doesn't get anything going. This is supposed to be a high-flying offense, an offense that's supposed to go back and forth with the Bengals. They didn't do it. Now, after the game, there was a report that came out that before coaches were up the tunnel, Diggs had his stuff and was leaving the locker room. That is a big, big deal. When your best player on the team is leaving your locker room before the coaching staff and players are in there, it's a big deal. Now, there was a report that their practice squad player had to go and get him, bring him back into the locker room, and he left a few minutes after that. A mess in Buffalo right now. They got an offseason now to figure it out. Figure out if you're going to draft someone, make a move in free agency, make a trade, bring in someone to help this offense, because the offense came out flat. And when you're going to play offenses like the Bengals and the Chiefs, year in and year out, which is what we're going to get for the next 10 years, it's going to be these teams, the same teams, the Bengals, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, maybe the Chargers. You got these young quarterbacks. You got to go out. You got to bring in offense to help your quarterback. We've seen people do it. We've seen the Bengals do it. We've seen the Eagles do it. Bills, go out and get a guy. And our last game is the Cowboys and the Niners. And come on, I called this. It's the Dallas Cowboys. We all knew this was coming. Right here, this is where we are. You can see it on the screen. This is where we are. Cowboys choke in the playoffs. It's every year, year in and year out, we see the Dallas Cowboys choke in the playoffs. This year, same as every other year. Now, this was different because it was a very defensive-dominated game. And we knew this game wasn't going to be high-scoring because these are one of the best defenses. The Niners are ranked the best defense in the league. The Cowboys have stars on their defense. So you kind of had a feeling this was going to be a low-scoring game, and it was. Now, neither offense was able to get anything going at all. Dallas was able to get the first touchdown, get on the board early, and all the Cowboy fans were starting. Come on, relax. And then Brett Maher comes onto the field, and this was the biggest moment. You got your kicker coming off of a game where he missed not one, not two, not three, but 4 PATs. 4 PATs. Comes into this, lines up to kick, and it gets blocked. His PAT, his first one of the game, gets blocked. And if that's not an omen, I don't know what is. It was just very, very, very disappointing if you're a Cowboy fan to see your team just collapse again. And it was, I don't want to say funny, but it was kind of funny watching that kick get blocked, because it was like, this is the moment that we've been waiting for all week. Is he going to make is he going to make this kick? And it was funny for him not to go through, because, come on, it was what we were talking about all week. He missed 4 last week. Now he's coming into this game. Can he get back? Can he get right? And that one gets blocked. That was just a great way to start the first quarter. Then you had Brock Purdy. And I'm going to say this, and I think it's pretty obvious. If this Niners team plays the way they played against the Cowboys, against the Eagles on Sunday, they do not have a chance of winning that game. Brock Purdy did not play well. This was not Brock Purdy's best game, but it wasn't his worst. He's going to have worse games, and, I don't know if he's going to start next year, if it's going to be Trey Lance, Garoppolo, who knows what the 49ers are doing. They just keep bringing in quarterbacks and winning games. The defense is going to be key. This defense is one of the best, and that's what's going to lead this team. Now, Brock Purdy, he's going to have to get right this week, because if you go out there and you play like you did last week, against that Eagles defense, the second best defense in the league behind yours, I don't know if it works. And the Niners are the best defense. They got 2 interceptions on Dak. And this is what we were waiting for. Dak, can he not turn the ball over? Well, that obviously wasn't the case. Now, you can argue the first one was on Mike Gallup for not running the proper route. The defender just jumped it and got the interception. But Dak wasn't making the throws. The punt return, a kick return, a Turpin. They were on the one kickback, on the one return, he was running straight. And I was watching this, I'm like, all right, he's going to kick to the outside and he's going to take this to the house. No. He ran right straight, right into the Niners. They tackled him. You got to know to just take off the outside. With his speed, he can do it, but he didn't. Another crucial mistake for the Cowboys, and that's just what they do in the playoffs. They make mistakes, they shoot themselves in the foot, and they lose. That's what we can always count on the Cowboys to do. Now, Dalton Schultz on the first down at the end of the game doesn't get his foot down. I mean, you got to just try to get as many feet as you can in bounds. You got the ball in your hands, just try to get another foot down just for precautionary reasons, because it's going to be reviewed at the end of the game. And that hurt the Cowboys, because if he catches that, you get a chance at a Hail Mary. Instead, what did we witness? What was this last play? Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, what is this? You line up Zeke at center. I know you want your skill players out there, but Zeke got bulldozed over. This had to be one of the worst play calls in NFL history. Dak Prescott takes the snap, throws the quick pass. It's caught and immediately tackled. There is not even a chance for a pitchback. That is how bad it was. Awful, awful play calling. Phenomenal defense on both sides. The Niners squeak out a win. This NFC Championship game, this AFC Championship game, is going to be amazing to watch. I will be releasing my picks on Saturday morning like I always do. But Saturday I will be releasing my picks for both games, so stay tuned for that. But if you did, let me know in the comments how you felt about this game. If you're a fan of any of these teams, let me know how you felt after your win, after your loss. Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy my videos, drop a like. And as always, I will see you guys next time.